right, guys, well, here's a management episode. Hope you guys are ready for it. There's going to be a lot of information in this video. I'm going to try to do my best and really bring some good videos that have a lot of information, a lot of content to them as we're kind of reaching this like management part of our season. And so that's exactly what this video is going to be about today. So if you guys would, make sure you leave a comment down below. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure to leave a like at the same time. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be cutting timber. We're going to do some TSI. I'm going to show you where I've done TSI, how that looks compared to where I haven't. Then I'm going to take you guys step by step, my mental process, which might be a scary process for some of you guys to partake in. But we're going to go through and I'm going to show you exactly why I'm cutting each one of our trees. I'll give you some information there and then go through and tell you exactly why I chose which trees out of the tree selection I have there. So I'm going to do step by step. There'll be a lot of information as we go along the way. Hopefully answer a lot of your all's questions, and if there's more videos that I can do, we'll do more videos on the questions that are down below. But this might be a little cringe-worthy for some of you too, because we are going to be cutting a lot of oak trees, and I will tell you the reason why for that and show you how it's going to be beneficial to the wildlife on our property. So let's get ready. Got a lot of tree cutting to do. Excited to got Brian behind the camera to help me capture this time. So here we go. Time to work. Walking into the wind here, but this whole area has changed drastically. As Brian and I, we're like what, 20-25 yards into here. When we started this area, this was the first area on the property that I came in and cut. You had a hardwood tree line up there that had, you know, pretty much manicured, just field edge, because they had cows and horses and stuff in here beforehand. Now we're only 25 yards in here. You got a lot of grasses, you got a lot of forbs, you got a lot of saplings popping up, you got a nice little black raspberry briar patch there. Now we've got it where before you'd stand at the tree line, you'd look all the way through this woods. There was no understory whatsoever, no bedding, no structure, no feed, nothing for deer to browse on. It just wasn't here. And now we're only 25 yards in. You've got all this structure, you've got bedding, a lot of browse, and it's pretty cool to see that just by opening up this canopy. Then coming back in with prescribed burns, already changed the landscape of this, and we'll get down here and show you guys how much difference it is compared to where we are going to be cutting trees. So, but 25 yards in, big difference. So I want to show you guys just how great this looks. There's actually a deer bed right here. This was not here before. You can see this is a lot of sassafras in here, honestly, and deer love it. There's a lot of browse on it. Deer like browsing on sassafras. Got some new generation of some dogwoods growing in here. You've got a lot of lower vegetation. You got thermal regulation. You got browse in here. This was not here before. I'm telling you, where Brian's standing at there, for as far as you could see through the timber here. And now you don't have that. And this is really close to our food plot. So what I try to do when I'm designing my property and starting to work, food plots is not the primary thing that I ever worry about anymore. Now it's native habitat, but because I do have these food plots established, now what I want to do is I want to have the deer bed closer to them. So deer, there is social pressure in deer herds, and so I like to make sure I can spread the deer out and have, you know, enough habitat for them to feel unpressured and feel secure in. So we've got the food plot right up here. We've done a lot of TSI thinning around it, so it's not open hardwoods all the way through that the deer have to now travel, you know, 300 or 400 yards to get up to the food plot, because that's where their bedding structure is. Now we have bedding structure and a lot of browse, so this serves as a year-round food plot at the same time, right up against this food plot. And usually you're going to get a lot of the does and the yearlings that are going to be pretty dang close to this. They're going to bed, you know, sometimes within 50 or 100 yards of this, and so that's my goal. And then if I can create that structure and keep taking that structure further on, the bucks are going to be next in line to bed after that. So the more structure you can put closer to your food plots, the more deer that are going to be in your food plots, and are going to be in your food plots quicker. So instead of waiting for that last 5 minutes of daylight for them to come in, or the first 5 minutes of shooting light that they're still in the food plot, now they can hang out there a whole lot longer and be in there a whole lot sooner because you've got the structure right around it. So this is huge. Like, this is really, really cool to see. I mean, there is so much structure in here, and there's bedding, and it doesn't look that bad. I think for the human eye, it looks bad for us to fall trees and to leave trees, but for the deer, there's nothing better than that. So you can see I've fallen quite a few trees in here, and it just opens it up. So we'll go a little bit further. We'll get down to this tree line where I stopped doing the TSI, and you can really see the difference, and we'll start doing a little bit of work. We're getting where you can see the TSI is where I had cut there, and now we're starting to get into this next transition zone of mature timber. So you can already tell the structure is leaving down below through here. And as we get down here, it'll just get more and more open. Little to no browse down low for the deer. No thermal regulation here whatsoever. So this is not going to be an area that they want to hang out when it's super cold out. Let's keep walking. Let's stop out right here because this is pretty much what we had to work with to start on this whole property. So you can tell, hopefully, there's a big difference behind me on the camera how open this is. You got a very mature timber stand. The canopy is full, and look down below. We're in the Ozarks, so we have nothing but rocks. That's all you're seeing on the ground is rock and leaves. I mean, there's very little vegetation. There's nothing to feed the deer long enough to just hold them in this area. They're going to browse through. They aren't going to bed here. They don't have the thermal structure in here. For the most part, you can see where the TSI area has come down. But once you get into here, it's non-existent. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it existent. We're going to start going in, and we're going to open up that timber canopy. Biggest thing you can do on your property if you're wanting to do something cost effective is take your chainsaw, fill it full of gas, and go to town, because that's going to be the cheapest management thing you can do on your property with just the biggest outcome, honestly. Biggest bang for your buck there. So when we're going in here, we're going to be thinning out this canopy pretty drastically. I've really found that over the years, when you get to the point that you feel like it's right, go about another 10% more. That way you aren't shooting yourself in the foot and having to come back the next year going, man, if I would have just gone a little bit further, it would have been perfect. Because there's a lot that goes into cutting down these trees. When we're cutting down these trees, a lot of time that root zone is still alive. So you can sometimes pair this up with coming in with Tordon. You cut down a tree, spray the Tordon. What that's going to do is going to kill that root zone, which is not going to compete for the water and the nutrients that you're trying to give the grasses and the forbs to create that thermal structure, to create that browse, that bedding. So you can partner with that. If you want those trees to regenerate, it's a lot of good browse for them to do that. So it just depends where I'm doing that at. What we're doing today is we're just simply going to cut these trees off. A lot of them are going to kind of regenerate some saplings. The deer will consume those. Probably, I think we're in rotation for next year to come back in here with a burn. It'll start killing off a lot of the top. It'll mainly top kill a lot of these saplings, top kill any of those stump sprouts, and sometimes we'll even kill those stumps there. But we're going to probably reduce this canopy to where there's probably going to be, we're probably going to reduce it probably about 70%, if not even more than that. So that's one thing that I found. There's a good mix in there where you clear out too much and you have way too much undergrowth, and you just have to control it with, you know, herbicides or a controlled burn or whatever. And there's a certain amount that you leave too much of, and then you have this beautiful, almost state park look where you have these big mature trees and no undergrowth whatsoever, no thermal regulation, no browse, no nothing down low. So you have to cut enough for that. Now we will be cutting a lot of oak trees. What we have here in the Ozarks is mainly oak hickory forest. On this property, it's mainly, I would say, it was almost all timber. Like we had probably about 10% of fields, probably still close to that, honestly. So we have a ton of oak trees, and we're going to be cutting white oaks and red oaks and post oaks and blackjacks. We're going to be cutting them all. Now, yes, I do have preference that if I can leave any of them, I like to leave a white oak, but I also like diversity on my property because there's some years the white oaks are going to do better than the red oaks and vice versa. But what I have done, just to let you guys know, because I know I always get a lot of hate messages and stuff, I can't believe you're cutting oak trees, there's value in those oaks. Well, I've gone through and I've had a logger come in and we have taken the trees out that are valuable. Some of these are still valuable in the sense of firewood, but as far as somebody getting in here now and coming in with a skid steer, tearing things up, and me pocketing maybe a couple $100, you know, total, like, it's just not worth it to get on my property for that reason. So I'd rather leave them lay, burn them up, let the wildlife, you know, have their part in them, and go from there. So anyway, we're going to get started cutting. Cue the sad music, because I know some of you guys are going to cry while I'm cutting these oak trees. See any cedars, go ahead and take them out. They're going to flourish once you take out the competition. They aren't going to provide any thermal regulation. They just really don't do a whole lot, except they will basically get thick enough to create a biological desert. So I like to go ahead and take out these cedars when I'm in here. They do burn up pretty good in fires, but if they're this tall, a lot of times that fire is not going to kill it all the way. So this way. Here's a good spot to talk about real quick. What I'm doing is we've got a white oak here, good healthy white oak. There's no rot, there's no holes, there's no top kill in it. That's a really good looking healthy tree. Next to it here, we got this tree that's showing no value in it. It is crooked, there's no timber value in it. It's got a canopy, it's a pretty big tree, so it's probably got a pretty decent sized root zone. And so we want to take this out, leave all the nutrients and water for this oak tree. At the same time, by taking this out, it's going to take out the canopy, allow more sunlight to come down in, help the grasses, help the forbs, and by taking that root zone out too, it's going to also help the grasses and the forbs along with the white oak. So pretty super simple. Got a dogwood here right behind me. I'm going to leave it because otherwise I'll get in trouble with my mother, who loves the dogwoods on my place. Dogwoods don't put up very good with prescribed fire, so a couple times of killing if it gets, or burning through here, if it gets too hot, it might take this tree out, but we're going to go ahead and leave it. But yeah, so that's what I look at here. I mean, you can judge which tree to leave, and then you have to look at the canopy and go, all right, I want to open up as much canopy as possible to allow growth. This tree's got to go. There it goes. Timber. Gotta watch out for those. Another thing I noticed with this tree, this is one thing I look at when I'm comparing, say I have two white oaks next to each other. Which one am I going to take out? So I'm looking at the base of the tree, make sure there's like not any rot, not any holes, not any indication that it's sick or dying. You can look at that by looking at tree branches as it goes up, looking up top, make sure there's no top kill in it. This tree, before I even cut it, I noticed that right here on the side, there's a little divot. There's a hole, and you can tell like by the way the root zone, it's like closed up, that there is probably an indication that there's going to be hollow. It's going to be a hollow tree, which is not super healthy. It's definitely not good for lumber. But as we cut it, this tree definitely is hollow. There's no anything living in it because it was closed up, but there you go. You got to look at that stuff, because if you're going to leave certain trees to grow up, say if I had two white oaks here, I wanted one of them to grow up and possibly take timber out of it eventually, and I could tell that this one of them was damaged at the bottom, and I didn't know that that could indicate that it's hollow inside or dying inside, and I left it. I put all that time and years, I put another 15, 20 years of growing that tree, and I come in to log it and it's hollow. It's not going to be worth anything. So look for signs on the tree that it's injured, sick, dying, hollow, and take that tree out. This is a hickory tree. We have a lot of hickories on this piece of property. Like I said, in the Ozarks, you're primarily a hickory oak forest, and the hickories, to me, a lot of them are this size, so there's no value in lumber in this. You could use some of this for firewood. It doesn't do anything for the wildlife. I mean, squirrels will eat the nuts eventually, but I like to take all these out that I can. I'd rather leave oak variety, and so any hickories, I'm cutting them down. They're quick to grow, they're pretty aggressive, and they're taking up my canopy, so hickories leave. So here's one I'm going to go ahead and cut down. It's a red oak, and I left it because I wanted it, the canopy was opening up in here, but I'm still not getting the amount of growth down low that I'd like, until this tree is very, very damaged. Who knows, could have been lightning strike, could have had a tree fall and scrape it, but even when I burned, it damaged it even more. So this red oak will never be worth anything. It's going to probably create some acorns, but I'd rather it let those nutrients go and these surrounding trees have less stress, produce more acorns than they would if this tree was here. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this tree down and get it out. All right, here's where it comes to the hard part, is choosing, you know, some pretty good size red oaks and white oaks. Pretty good grove of big red oaks here. This one's super healthy. It's nice and straight, and there's probably a little bit of monetary value right now in that, but give it another 5, 10, 15 years, there's going to be more monetary value in it. But it is nice and straight, it's healthy, and nothing's dead on it. You start looking at this one, and there is quite a bit of burn marks on it on the bottom, but it's pretty tall, straight, and healthy as well. You get over here, you even have a larger red oak, which in the human eye, we're going to be like, oh, it's bigger, it's better. But it's already dead and dying here on the outside, which is probably indicating that there's more going on than the inside, and it's going to be damaged. So it's not going to be valuable for lumber. So in this, it's more valuable to cut this out, open up this canopy. Got a nice white oak right here. It's actually nice and straight. It's submissive right now. But if we take out this damaged red oak, there's pretty good size red oak right beside it that's crooked. There's no monetary value to it. Watch this blow up. But this is where it gets hard. You're cutting down big trees. This is one that we actually might come in, roll it down the hill, use this for firewood. So let's cut down some big ones. Ready for this? Mamma jamma bama. Breath. I'm trying to catch my breath so I can talk on video. Here we go. So we made a mess, and a mess is good. It's one thing I'll always tell anybody I work with, clients or friends, that to the human eye, this is not appealing. We want it clean and we want it manicured, but to wildlife, to deer, to quail, to turkey, this is what they want. They need habitat, they need structure. It's going to help them be safe. That's one of the biggest things I've seen with doing TSI and creating edge on my property, is creating that diversity. You're also going to create diversity in the game that you have on your property. It's great structure for quail, for turkeys, for deer. It's going to provide nesting, bedding, browse, structure for your poults, for your fawns. Deer like that structure. Edging's huge. We're going to do a whole video on edging and how much I've edged on my property and how it's completely changed how turkeys and deer utilize my property and stay on my property. But we've made a nice mess here today. We will not be burning this probably this year. It's in rotation to come back in and burn next year. That's also why I'm in here right now. A lot of these trees I'm cutting down. They're going to regenerate from the stump because they are dormant. So it's going to provide some food. At the same time, there's not a lot of foliage on these trees, so I'm not knocking them down where they're full of leaves. Still, for deer and turkey, they're able to come through here and they feel relatively safe because it's not so thick that they can't see through. You knock down full-blown canopies, it creates a very large, dead, brown structure where your predators can hang out. They don't feel as safe to get in there and you utilize that area right off the bat. So that's why I'm doing this when I am right now. We ran out of fuel in the chainsaw, so got to refuel and finish this out. But This has helped a lot on my property. I hope it's helped you guys with the information that I'm sharing, and we're going to do a lot more of this. So like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want this kind of information, we also do real hunts as we get into turkey season, deer season. Make sure you guys take time to subscribe, comment down below. That gives me ideas of what I can do on videos to show you what I've been doing on my property. Completely have transformed this to a hunting paradise, and I want to take you guys on the journey to see all that. So until next time, guys, have a better than average day.